this game is, I don't know, it's pretty crazy here. We're going to see more turrets going up, and obviously, unlike a pack of Mutalisks who can just mow down a turret, the Ro8 are so much more fragile. It's a little bit tougher for them to squeeze by some turrets like that. Now, they do have Cloak, so if they can take out this turret, they'll be good to go, but it looks like they're not going to. I'm glad Fantasy's getting his expansion right now, but bear in mind, even with Canata losing all those SCVs, he has still had an expansion up, and, well, just getting one SCV gone there, but I feel like Fantasy is kind of slowly falling behind here, despite such a good harass. Oh, he is, oh, nope, losing a Wraith there. So I'm a little bit worried. I feel like Fantasy, he's definitely not going to build any Wraiths. At this point, he's really just trying to do what he can with the Wraiths he has, and then he's hoping to be able to switch back into a standard game. Getting some Wraiths kind of caught here. No scan going down, but he's just now picking up his secondary base. Excuse me, 2 factories working there and upgrading. So if he can get these tanks out in time and get some shelling going on to protect his secondary, then he'll at least be alright in the short run here. Possibly going to be able to take out that tank. Wow, that was slightly close there. Oh, and the scan goes down. Scan is built. So Canata with a good job sticking with it. Now, bear in mind, there's only 2 scans when a scan is built. So after this scan, then that is it, unless Canata built another one. And I think he's just gonna keep it the way it is. Oh, wow. A nice snipe. Oh, okay, never mind. That was just, it was already burning up. I don't know why I got excited over that. But Fantasy really having to focus on economy now. He's going to have to try to kind of turtle up, I think, for a bit here, because he is certainly at a disadvantage at this point in the game. As much as I like Fantasy, we could certainly see an upset here, even though, as I said, they're definitely statistically fairly even. So, I mean, we're kind of seeing that here. I mean, Fantasy is you know, very good against the other 2 races, well, for the most part at least. And but you know, Terran certainly being his lesser matchup here. Excuse me while I take a quick drink. Actually, I'm sorry. Fantasy Zerg, looks like Zerg might be his worst matchup. I was just checking the stats. And yeah, it is. So he's more of a Protoss killer. It's something I should have known off the top of my head, but I forgot about it. And I haven't checked any of the stats on Canata, but that's okay. I don't think it really matters at this point. So Canata with the Goliaths out. He's patrolling the map around. Fantasy now with Goliaths out. It is really hard, and I apologize. I've been kind of slow in my commentary because it is hard to see who is who on the map because the Goliaths have that bright white shimmer to them, which looks like they would be Fantasy's Goliath. So I hope I am calling things right. I can't view this full screen because then the recorded video would be massive for uploading, which would completely suck. But it looks like Fantasy is macroing up here. He's got 3 extra factories, going for 5 factories here. He does have a fairly good defense coming up there on his base. So again, as I mentioned before, you know, Fantasy really trying to turtle up and play a game of catch-up here after, you know, not really a full all-in move in the beginning, but definitely a kind of a risky attacking move. Harass move in the beginning of the game, which is why I like Fantasy. I feel like Fantasy, he does a good job with harassing. He has very good Vulture Micro, and as you can see there, he has very good Wraith Micro as well. And speaking of harassing, we're going to see a tank getting taken out. Oh, and taking out SCVs as well. That tank is almost going to go down here, but it's getting repaired. Tank is almost going to go down. Oh my gosh, see, this is what I'm talking about. Fantasy getting 2 Vultures in, almost killing that tank. Trying to, oh my gosh, look at that. Fantasy, while the tank is sieging, running his Vulture right next to it and killing 2 SCVs that were weakened. That is fantastic play from Fantasy. They did come into the drop ship. Now, I don't know if Fantasy dropped all of his Vultures, or if he had another 2 in there, and if he did, he can drop those and also cause a disturbance there. I'm surprised that dropship has been chilling for so long. Good micro by Canata to clear up the mines. But Fantasy just running these speed vultures in and doing an excellent job being Fantasy, being annoying, harassing the economy. Notice there's been very little harass except for that little skint in the beginning from Canata. So Fantasy, despite having a lesser economy, is still looking fairly strong. We're going to see a little elevator here of or not. The Vulture's like, wait for me, come on, dude, I want to get in. All right, we're going to see the elevator down into the base. There is one tank with partial health here, and nothing else at all guarding the main. So if these Vultures can get in there, lay a couple mines properly. Now there's you'll notice that Canata actually has a pretty good. Oh, and that tank is going down along with that Vulture most likely because it can't get out of there. Tank goes down. Canata is going to have to pull back some forces or try to rush with his SCVs. And just attacking a starport. Well, I guess he did a few mines and laid those, which was certainly fine. Mines going off. Great mine placement there. Another mine going off, and these tanks just getting owned by mines in Canata's own base. And obviously, Canata certainly has a good force coming out, but Fantasy is so good at turtling and then harassing, and he has a very invariably has the wall in front. I don't know if I said that word right, but again, just doing a good job with mine placement. Another Wraith out, which is actually kind of surprising for me to see. I didn't expect to see Fantasy doing anything with the Relays, but Wraith's going more hardcore. Coming out here, Fantasy's going to push in the middle, try to surround this force. Fantasy with a great job surrounding, taking out Canata's army, even though Canata is on he's on the hill, which is of course going to give him an advantage, but Fantasy just with strategic superiority here, going to completely take out Canata's army. Canata gulping there, and I don't think he's going to GG quite yet, but I feel like at this point, Fantasy is going to be able to roll up to Canata's base, despite Canata having a superior... Well, you know what? I might have to take back what I said about the superior economy, because I'm not really factoring in the fact that Fantasy killed so many SCVs, and delayed so much mining, and Canata is losing so many of his tanks here. Fantasy is outnumbering Canata by about 20 side points at this point, and I think he's going to be able to just roll into this base, bringing out the SCVs, and I think this is going to be GG pretty quick here. Although Canata is doing a pretty good job bombing the tanks. I don't know if I think he might have dropped a couple Vultures, but bringing in some reinforcements, those should have been there before. You always want to have Vultures in front of your tanks. But I feel like Fantasy at this point has just done way too much economic damage, and as well as Canata made a good attempt at trying to come back and trying to expand and use his economy. GG! Wow. That was actually a lot more exciting game. My voice is getting a little raspy. More exciting than a lot of times I expect from Terran versus Terran. Fantasy showing that he is the king of harass. No, not the king of harass. The king of harassing his opponent. And look, he is going to shake hands because they are good players. He was like, hey man, you know what? You did a good try there. Let's go drink some lemonade. Let's go drink some urine-flavored liquid from our glass bottles. That's what a lot of these players like to drink, some sort of Korean drink that I think looks like urine. Look at those sexy posters over there on the side. All right. Anyways, Fantasy just looking good. I really feel Fantasy is a strong contender in this, and the problem is, and my worry is, so is Jaedong, and we're going to see how Jaedong does against Zero, because we see another Fantasy Jaedong OSL, and Jaedong beats Fantasy. Man, I don't know if I would be able to recover that from a player. Of course, I'm referring to the last OSL where Fantasy was 2-0, and Jaedong came back to beat him, or 3-0. Wait, I can't remember. Either way, it was a big comeback by Jaedong, as Jaedong always does. So we're going to see how Jaedong does against Zero next. Thanks for watching, guys.